What is up guys, Taiki here, and welcome to Farms of the Week, where I'll be going over the farms I'm currently in, as well as the farms I'm watching. So if you like the content, please like and subscribe, and leave a comment in the comment section below, so let's get started. I want to allocate the majority of this video to DeFi kingdoms, just because xJOE has been an absolute tank, right? So I'll do a little presentation later in the video where I'll go over like, hey, like when you do the research, build conviction, have a plan, farming becomes a whole lot easier. But before I get into that, let's kind of go over the actual application, just because it's changed a little bit since I last talked about it roughly a month ago, right? And yes, DeFi Kingdoms is still my highest conviction farm, right? And this still has not changed. Okay, so this is the application, and one of the reasons I've been bullish DeFi Kingdoms is because, I mean, I guess like as a DeFi farmer, like educator, right? It's really difficult to explain these farming concepts to, I guess, newer participants, right? Sure, I can make videos every single week about, hey, like if you're new to farming, check out this video, but you know, it's not really scalable, and you know, I don't really want to do that. So if there's a way to visualize, I guess, DeFi farming, etc., in one single application, I think it's going to be a whole lot easier to onboard new users. And if there's like a play to earn component to it, then you know it can also create excitement for that part of the business as well. So I kind of want to go over the marketplace, the bank, and the gardens in this video, just because I feel like, you know, these three, I guess, establishments in this game, you know, have the most value, or it's like, you know, it's like the most basic. But you know, like if you're trying to onboard someone new to DeFi, right, you go to this application, like, hey, like if you want to buy something, right, global trade, we're all about that, right? Supply chain, you go to the trader and you buy whatever token that you want, right? Go back to the menu, go back to the maps, and hey, if you want to plant some, okay, if you want to farm some xJOE, what do? Well, you go to the gardens, right? I feel like farming as a term, right, is a meme, right? It's like, why is it called farming to begin with, right? Someone came up with farming, and it's a thing now. You know, this thing looks like a penis, but we'll let that go. So what you do is, when you want to farm xJOE, you go to the seed box, you buy some seeds, right? And seeds are, you know, these LP tokens, and you take your seeds and you stake it and you plant it in the gardens, right? And that's how you farm more xJOE. And the xJOE farm that I'm currently in is xJOE USDC and xJOE 1. I mean, I didn't really expect the price of xJOE to go up this high, so you know, the impermanent loss I'm incurring is pretty high here. But you know, I thought like, hey, or I guess back then I thought like, hey, like this thing is so inflationary, surely this thing can't really, you know, keep going up. You know, because when you're earning super high yield on these tokens, like you don't really need the price to go up, right? If you're earning decent yield and the price is stable, you should be euphoric. So you know, I'm in this one and I'm in this one because I mean xJOE and 1, they should be correlated, so there's that too. Okay, so that's it. And lastly, go back to the bank, right? And you know, if you're trying to explain to someone new about like, you know, how does staking actually work, and how do you actually earn fees? Well, it kind of makes sense if you actually go to the bank, right, and you stake your xJOE, which is like the in-game currency, you get to earn part of the protocol fees. So yes, if you're a DeFi native, if you're a farmer, these things are super simple, and like, you know, it's like you don't really need me to explain it to you. But you know, you can kind of, you know, imagine like maybe like 6 months ago you're like new to farming and you're trying to learn this for the first time. I would suspect that like if DeFi kingdoms existed, like you would have found farming to be a lot more simple, a lot more fun, and a lot more easier to understand, right? And keep in mind that DeFi kingdoms, they're not only going to be on Harmony, they're trying to go cross-chain, right? So they told me that like they're going to have like literal bridges to like different ecosystems. So maybe, you know, maybe, I mean, this bridge doesn't go anywhere, but maybe this is a way to go to maybe like the Matic ecosystem, right? And if you want to go to the Avalanche ecosystem, you go to the mountains here or something. If you want to go to the Terra ecosystem, you like ride this blimp, you ride this air balloon all the way up, and you know, maybe this thing's, maybe this boat, you ride the boat to the Phantom ecosystem or something. I don't know, but you know, I see a lot of potential in this game, and if you can farm, you know, if you can farm xJOE for these insane APYs or APRs, I mean, you know, what can you do, right? I'm just like, I don't really care what the price does, right? I remember like back on November 3rd, I made this like Harmony 1 pep talk video because the price of xJOE went to $3.50, and I got a bunch of DMs saying like, hey, like Taiki, like why did you dump on us? Like, you know, is this thing going to zero? Like what? I don't know if you can see my face here. So let me move my camera so you can see my face. I'm like, bro, like what are you talking about, right? Because if you don't have plans for like whatever farms that you're in, if you don't have plans or a thesis on like whatever tokens that you hold, you're using like buy tops, sell bottoms. It's just like how it happens, right? Because in hindsight, I mean, there was no way for me to know, but 350 was like the literal peak bottom of DeFi Kingdoms. And I don't do price predictions in this channel, right? Because this is an uber inflationary token. So I'm even surprised that it's like above $5 at this point. Maybe this thing goes to $10. I don't know, right? For me, as a farmer, I'm happy just farming this, not touching it. I literally check this like once a week, right? I'm like, oh, like cool, I have more JOE, right? And price is up, you know, like, and then when this happened, I'm like, oh, wow, like it dumped 30%. Okay, people took profits, good for them, right? I'm just gonna keep farming, right? And it's up today, I'm like, okay, cool, like I'm still farming JOE, right? My plan hasn't changed, right? Because of a pretty mid to longer term time horizon for this particular farm. So that being said, let's kind of go over to my presentation. Let me mute this soundbite here. Okay, because I feel like as a farmer, right, you shouldn't just farm things for the sake of farming. Every farm that you're in should fulfill a role in your portfolio, right? And I'll kind of go over like what I mean by that, right? And for me personally, DeFi Kingdoms is a way for me to gain exposure to the Harmony ecosystem, and I guess Gamefi in general. And also, like, you know, maybe like if you're in a stablecoin farm in other ecosystems, right, it's a way for you to hedge risk, right, in case the market corrects or something. So role of DFK in my portfolio. So this might sound confusing, but I'll go into it more in detail. But DFK is my way to gain exposure to the Harmony ecosystem while also being a hedge in case the Harmony ecosystem doesn't turn out to be a good one, right? My bias is that Harmony is still an undervalued L1, but I could be wrong, right? I mean, you should always work under the assumption that you could be wrong, right? Because if you think that you're a genius and you're just like, you know, YOLOing net worth into altcoins, then like what if you're wrong, right? You're gonna get wrecked. And I argue that the only way that you're gonna get wrecked in crypto is if you take on too much risk, you FOMO into like rugs. So, you know, I feel like if you have a longer term time horizon for your portfolio, right? I mean, for me, like I don't plan on like retiring like next month, right? I plan on just slowly growing my portfolio, my net worth over time through these farms, manage risk, and just having a plan, right? And just managing risk and having realistic expectations for all the farms that I'm in. So, like I mentioned earlier, DeFi Kingdoms is looking to be a cross-chain game to meet where the players are, right? Think of these different L1s as consoles in a particular game, right? For example, FIFA, right? I play FIFA. I like soccer or football. You know, FIFA is available on Xbox and PS5, right? They're not like Microsoft Maxis. They're not Sony Maxis. They want to sell the game, right? Similarly, DeFi Kingdoms, they think of these different L1s, such as Harmony, Avalanche, Phantom, Matic, Terra, as consoles, right? If people want to play this game on Terra, they'll go there. If people want to play this game on Avalanche, they'll go there, right? Like, I'm super bullish on projects that are not ETH maxis or just like maxis in any particular ecosystem, because I mean, there are a bunch of users spread across all ecosystems, and if you want to be a successful project, then you should try to gain as much market share as you possibly can. So here are some screenshots about on like how these different ecosystem tokens are listed on DeFi Kingdoms already, such as Matic, Luna, Phantom, Avalanche, right? So, you know, they are trying to go cross-chain. I believe you can actually bridge, I think on AnySwap or AllBridge, I forget one of the two, if you want to bridge JOE from one ecosystem to another. Keep in mind, there might not be any liquidity for JOE on like, you know, these other L1s, but, you know, over time, there's going to be a bridge. Excuse me. And let's kind of go back on my point of how DeFi Kingdoms is a way for me to gain exposure to the Harmony ecosystem while also acting as a hedge, right? Which kind of contradicts each point. But my thinking is that if Harmony succeeds, DeFi Kingdoms succeed, right? If Harmony TVL goes up 10x in the next 6 months or something, of course, DeFi Kingdoms will succeed because they're the #1 decentralized exchange on the Harmony ecosystem. However, let's be open to the idea that, you know, maybe the Harmony ecosystem, like, you know, who knows, like maybe they keep delaying Chainlink till 2023, and maybe, you know, there's like not that much developer activity, right? Well, in that case, if you're all in the Harmony ecosystem, you might get wrecked, right? But I argue that, you know, DeFi Kingdoms can succeed even if Harmony does not succeed, right? Because they're multi-chain, and they're going to go where there is demand. The thesis that I have, right, for I guess DeFi Kingdoms in general, is that they can be a successful cross-chain application, which is kind of hard to do. If you think about native decentralized exchanges, think about Trader Joe, Spirit Swap, Spooky Swap, you know, they can't really go into other ecosystems. They're kind of their success is kind of contained to the success of the ecosystem that they're already in, which isn't a bad thing. But it's one of the things that DeFi kingdoms they have an advantage over these native DEXes. Think about why SushiSwap is never the #1 decentralized exchange on like any particular chain, right? Sushi is everywhere, but they're never the #1. They're always #2, #3, #4, right? They're always overtaken by a particular DEX. The reason for that is because Sushi, they're incapable of offering high inflationary rewards to like all ecosystems, right? Because if they do that, then the Sushi token is going to go to zero, right? If people can earn 3-digit yield on Sushi on all ecosystems, it's going to get dumped to the ground, right? So Sushi, right? Yes, they're everywhere, right? And they have decent yields, but they're never the highest yield, right? So similarly, Trader Joe, Spirit Swap. So let's say Trader Joe wanted to go to Phantom, right? Do you think they'll succeed? Probably not, right? Because Trader Joe, they can offer high yield in the Avalanche ecosystem, but as soon as they offer high yield in the Phantom ecosystem, the token will like not perform as well. Same goes for Spirit Swap or Spooky Swap. If they want to go to the Avalanche ecosystem, they're just not going to succeed, right? But DeFi Kingdoms as a game, they're able to establish a competitive moat around that particular game. Where DeFi Kingdoms can go to Avalanche, they can go to Phantom, and this demand the demand for DeFi Kingdoms and the Jewel token should actually go up, just because there's nothing like DeFi Kingdoms on these other ecosystems. So that's kind of how I think about, hey, like if Harmony succeeds, DeFi Kingdoms will succeed. Well, if Harmony does not succeed, well, yes, the DeFi Kingdoms and Jewel might dump, right? Because they're still majority exposed to the ecosystem. However, they do have roadmaps to expand to to go cross chain. So even if Harmony doesn't do well, they can continue their success on other ecosystem, which is kind of a way to hedge against Harmony not doing well. I'm not saying it's gonna do that, right? I'm just thinking about like risk management, right? Because think about it, like if you're super bullish Harmony, right, and you're all in Harmony, right? If you're just like in all of the farms with 100% of your net worth, well, what if you're wrong, right? You're just gonna get wrecked, right? So I'm bullish to Harmony ecosystem, but I don't need to buy a bunch of one tokens. I don't need to buy a bunch of these other farm tokens, because DeFi Kingdoms it's just a good way to gain exposure to the Harmony ecosystem, right? For this reason, I don't really own a sizable bag of one, because I would buy some if I could, but I don't have an unlimited amount of money, and it allows me to free up capital and headspace to utilize elsewhere, right? Instead of allocating maybe 10% of my portfolio to DeFi Kingdoms, 10% of my bag to Harmony, maybe I can allocate maybe 12% of my portfolio into DeFi Kingdoms and free up the rest of the 8% into stablecoins to hedge against downside volatility, or maybe the Avalanche ecosystem because you're bullish, stuff like that, right? You always have to think about what role does this farm play in my portfolio? Because if you don't think about that, then maybe you're taking on too much risk, right? Like I mentioned, I feel like the only way you don't make it in crypto is this like taking on too much risk. You kind of have to develop a plan, and for this reason, like I mentioned, like I don't even care about the price of Jewel, right? If this dumps like 30% tomorrow, like next week, unless there's like crazy crazy changes in fundamentals, I really don't care, right? To be honest, like this thing is being showed everywhere on social media, so this video might be the local top of Jewel, right? It's like I really don't care, right? I'm just sitting comfy the last 2 months, farming this thing with zero stress at all, right? It's a way for me to gain exposure to Harmony ecosystem and Gamefi, right? And if I can do 2 of those things in one farm, feeling good. And if you think about like just like the standard revenue equation, like revenue equals price times quantity, right? If you're earning like 4-digit APRs on a particular farm, you don't need the price to go up, right? If price remains stable for the next 2 months, you're making money, right? Of course, if you buy a farm token on a centralized exchange, you do need the price to go up, right? Because you're not gaining any yield, right? This is the kind of like a humble farmer mindset that everyone should have. It's like people care too much about price. Of course, price is important, right? If you're earning 100% APR and price dumps 90%, you're wrecked, right? But I don't really enter like those types of degen farms nowadays. So I'm trying to enter farms with a mid to longer term mindset, especially as we near tax season, right? Or I guess not tax season, but near the end of the year. It's like I'd rather, in like mid-November, I'd rather not try to take on additional taxable events, because if I can delay my taxes for 12 months, it has a lot of utility for me, because I can earn like 30% in DeFi easily, right? On stablecoins. So if I can delay taxes by 12 months, I can earn 30% on the stablecoins that I would have had to, I guess, cash out into fiat to pay taxes on, if that makes sense. Okay, so that's kind of a short little presentation on how I think about this particular farm and the role it plays in my portfolio, right? Okay, and I kind of want to touch on like some Twitter activity that's been going on, and why I think DeFi Kingdoms is really interesting. So there's this DAO called DFK DAO, where it's like a group of people that I guess pull capital together to accumulate heroes, right? And like I guess play the game to I guess maximize profits and whatnot. So this is really interesting because it's I think the founders are SatStart and Ansem. Like these two people are people I really respect. I think they're crazy good farmers, right? You see DFK DAO here, SatStart here, right? So I mean, for like these DAOs to form, it must mean that like, hey, like these smart money is also in this. Obviously, everyone's gonna make profits at some point, right? So you shouldn't expect this thing to keep going up forever, right? I mean, you should expect this thing to go down, right? Because look at these yields, right? It's just like, do you expect people not to sell, right? It's like, I'm gonna sell at some point, right? I'm not selling now, but I'm gonna sell at some point, right? You should sell at some point, right? Unless you're like a super maxi. So I thought that was interesting, and Ansem tweeted this here, but like people are just really like buying these heroes, right? And part of the reason the price of JOE is going up is because it has in-game utility. Most other farm tokens, right, for like random Uniswap forks, like no one wants to hold those tokens, right? It has zero utility. But JOE is the in-game currency, meaning that like you can participate in the game by buying JOE and then buy heroes with it. If you go back to my giveaway that I did, right, almost a month ago, this thing was worth like 14K at the point, right? But I don't even want to know what this thing is worth because it'll just make me a little sad. Not really, because right, but I hope that the giveaway winner Tom is like really happy with this giveaway. But if you wanna, I guess, if you wanna doubt the success of the game, I mean, just let it be known that these NFTs are going for like 5 figures, right? Mid 5 figures, and some of these mythic NFTs are going for like 6 figures. I think 30,000 JOE, right? At like current prices, what's the price of JOE? 665. I mean, that's a lot of money, right? it's pretty crazy. Okay, so I guess like the one thing that I don't really talk about on this channel for DeFi Kingdoms is like the gaming side, right? Because I entered this farm more from like a farmer's perspective, right? I didn't really have intentions on playing the game, but maybe I should, right? Maybe I really should. So I'm gonna leave this link in the description below. Beginner's Guide to DeFi Kingdoms, how to start playing DeFi Kingdoms. I think it's a good one. There are other YouTubers that kind of talk about like how to play this game. I think Climb Crypto, there's Digital Slow Mad, I believe. There's a bunch of YouTubers that are playing the game, and if you want to know like how to play this game, I really recommend. I'll link them in the description below to their channels, so you can see like, okay, like how can I actually play these heroes, play these games? Because the reason these heroes have value is because it's going to be a play to earn model, and these heroes can help you unlock some of the tokens that are locked, which I'm not going to go over it too much in detail. Okay, so that was a very long-winded explanation of DeFi Kingdoms, and fast forward. But let's kind of go back into another ecosystem which is doing really well, which is Avalanche, right? Avalanche hit $100. I'm assuming that if Bitcoin and ETH, their volatility is muted, Avalanche over $100 makes sense. So a few farms on Avalanche. Obviously, Trader Joe is a good one. Not only the LP farms, right, but also xJOE got listed as collateral, which is really, really interesting because xJOE is an interest-bearing version of JOE, where if you stake JOE for xJOE, you get to earn part of the protocol fees. And if you lend out your xJOE here, right, you can earn, I guess not really lending it out, you're just like using it as collateral, you can earn 35% paid in the AVAX token, right? So, if I can do this, then, you can expect, people to have, I guess like more demand for the JOE token, right? Because before this, right, maybe I didn't have that much incentive to hold JOE, but if I can take xJOE, earn yield on it, and earn additional yield in the form of AVAX tokens, that offers additional utility for me. We always have to think about the utility of these tokens because I mean that's like one of the key determinants for supply and demand. There's that, and obviously you can farm here. These yields are just just good in general, so make sure to look out for that too. Obviously, I talk about AAVE a lot because I think this is severely underrated. Like you can earn roughly, what's like 13.5% on Avalanche, right? And you can use this collateral, borrow against it. And these borrow APYs are going up just because people like want to take on leverage, they want to borrow more dollars. But it kind of makes sense, right? I mean, yeah, sure, you're paying 7%, to borrow Tether, but you can earn, I believe, roughly 45% on Alpha Homora. Let me connect to the Avalanche ecosystem there. Yeah, so if you go to the Earn tab on Alpha Homora, right, this is leveraged yield farming protocol. You can earn. This kind of went down. So this used to be like 45% like 30 minutes ago, but I guess more people deposited or something. But you can earn 31% and 14% on stablecoins, right? So USDC here. So I mean, if you're hypothetically, let's say you're using Avalanche, Bitcoin, ETH as collateral, right? Because you're bullish on those assets, earning decent yield, you can borrow USDC, right? And maybe you're paying a 9% yield, right, to borrow USDC. But if you're earning 31% here on USDC, is that bad debt? No, it's good debt, right? You're paying 9% to earn 31%. You're earning yield indirectly on your Avalanche, Bitcoin, and ETH tokens. Pretty cool. Obviously, Curve 2, right? You can earn roughly 23%, 24% on stablecoins. All right, this is a more of like a simple strategy, right? You can expect these rates to be relatively stable. You can just deposit DAI, USDC or USDT, and deposit it here. So maybe what you can do is you can look at like the stablecoin with the lowest net APY, which is usually Tether, right? You can borrow Tether at a net 5.3% APR, and then deposit it here, earn 24%. Is that bad yield? Sorry, is that bad debt? No, like you're paying like, let's say 5% to earn 24%. Nothing bad there at all. I feel like people are just like scared about debt in general. And yes, like you should be scared about debt if your health factor here is like super dangerous, right? But as long as you're earning a safe amount of stable coins against your collateral and you're earning super high yield with those stable coins, it's just a really, really simple way to earn yield on your assets. And hey, like Avalanche, great ecosystem. So that being said, thank you guys for watching. I actually have an AMA with Frisky Fox on my private Discord. So if you want to know how, this Thursday, so if you want to know what I'm doing with markets, check out the link in the description below. Thank you guys for watching and have fun farming out there.